À Bedford, une petite ville paisible située en Virginie, où en apparence, il ne semble pas y avoir de lien avec la voiture Bricklin. C'est pourtant ici que l'on retrouve Terry Tanner, responsable à l'époque de la production de la Bricklin et qui, encore aujourd'hui, répare et restaure ce type de voiture dans son garage. Ses clients proviennent d'un peu partout en Amérique.
If I had to fix something else, I'd probably retire. But I don't want to retire from Bricklin because I still got things I want to do. We're working on a development program right now, making another mold. So you could always do a little bit more and you can do it a little bit better. And that's what we do.
Terry Tanner compte sur son fidèle employé John Lodge pour l'appuyer.
It's a way of life. I love the car. There's nothing else in the world like it.
Stacy, la fille de Terry, peut témoigner du lien qui unit sa famille à la Bricklin.
And then when they folded, brought it all to the house. So we were all involved in it.
Cette voiture unique en son genre porte peut-être le nom de Bricklin, mais pour bien des propriétaires de cette voiture, elle porte un peu beaucoup le nom de Terry Tanner.
You've got to meet Terry Tanner if you own a Bricklin, and he is the guru for our car, and so he's a great resource and a great guy to keep this car alive.
Le plus grand défi était de réussir à construire une voiture de A à Z. Personne au sein des grandes compagnies d'automobiles n'a eu cette opportunité-là.
Son défi, faire du rêve de Malcolm Bricklin une réalité.
En voyant le prototype, je me suis dit, c'est amusant, mais est-ce que ça marche?
2 usines sont nécessaires. Une à Minto pour fabriquer la carrosserie, l'autre à Saint-Jean pour l'assemblage. Terry Tanner arrive au Nouveau-Brunswick.
On a atterri au petit aéroport de Saint-Jean, puis on est allé à l'usine. Il y avait 9 trous dans le plancher, la chaîne de montage était mal enlignée, 2 personnes étaient à côté sur une structure. Alors j'ai dit, vous voulez rire de moi? Il y avait aussi un compresseur qui semblait dater de l'époque de Noé.
Le lendemain, il se rend à Minto, situé à plus de 150 km de Saint-Jean.
Là-bas, il n'y avait qu'un motel et une pompe à essence. C'était Minto. Dans l'usine, j'ai vu une énorme caisse dans laquelle se trouvait la machine à thermoformage pour la carrosserie, la plus grande du genre au monde. Personne n'avait ouvert cette boîte. Il y avait aussi un bureau, un contreplaqué de 4x8 et une chaise volée au motel. C'était tout. On devait mouler la carrosserie dans une matière chauffante, dans une cabane pas isolée, avec 8 pieds de neige à l'extérieur. Vous voulez quelque chose d'insensé? C'est insensé.
That decision was made by people in management who couldn't spell car, had no concept of what they're doing. They didn't have any idea. And they were family.
Living to the Bricklin credo, Malcolm once again places his relatives in key positions. His mother heads the complaints department. His sister is the company's lawyer. But the real problem is his father, Albert.
Wherever he went, St. John or Minto, he would absolutely not allow anybody to make decisions, and he would make decisions over their heads. And of course, because he had direct connections with Malcolm, Malcolm always supported him. And that's why the executives kept leaving.
My dad, who had no car experience but lots of common sense, he was there to make sure that the money was spent right, that they were doing a good job, that the employees had a fair shake. And he did that job really well.
But while chaos reigns in his Canadian operations, Malcolm Bricklin is in Arizona. A few weeks after signing the deal with New Brunswick, he moves there to live out a lifelong dream.
I remember when I was a little kid, the thing I'd rather be, I wanted to be a policeman and I wanted to be a fireman, but I think the thing I really wanted to be was a cowboy.
So he rented an office in the highest building in Phoenix and redecorated it. He sat in a saddle and dressed in Western clothing, and immediately became the model of a Western cowboy.
At the same time, he moves his family into a serviced casita run by the Hilton Hotel. He even hires a bodyguard to drive his Silver Wraith Rolls-Royce.
This was kind of a cross between Disneyland and Detroit. The guy had flair, and he worked it. He worked it really good.
Well, it wasn't that dramatic. I mean, it wasn't something, you know, I woke up one night and said, oh my God, I must build a car. I was destined to do that. And it really wasn't a long boyhood dream. I mean, I've always liked beautiful cars, and I've always liked to own beautiful cars, and in many cases I've been fortunate and been able to own some, what I call beautiful cars. But they've always dissatisfied me. And yet, although the American auto industry is always knocked for not being progressive enough, when you get into a Chevrolet or a Ford or a Chrysler or an American Motors product, you can usually depend when you turn the key, it's going to start. And it just seemed to me they've missed one thing that people really want, and that's some beauty on the outside. When they did come out with a beautiful car of any limited production, it was eaten up. The Corvette has shown consistently that they sell everything they can build, although they chose not to build tremendous quantities. The Datsun came out with a magnificent car in the 240 in that it was a pretty car at a reasonable price. And they sold all they could build, which was even considerably more than the Corvette. Yet nobody took it to mean that they could combine all these features and still sell even more if they wanted to. And maybe because they didn't want to, it makes no difference to me, but I saw the hole in that market, and I said, hey, if we could add all those things and add safety, which seems to be incongruous with beauty, then maybe we'll take a step forward, not necessarily for the good of the world, but for a very profitable venture, which in the same turn would be good for future generations and changes in the automobile industry. A lot of people told me I was crazy, and to use a vernacular, yeah, a few people told me I was full of shit. I thought less of them when they did. I think more of them now because they were more right than wrong at the time. I just didn't realize it, thank God.
Malcolm had the faculty of dreaming and working very hard to make that dream come true. Many of us, including myself, we dream of things that we would like to do. And we watch the boats go down the river, things of that nature. We don't do anything about it. We are armchair dreamers. He is one of those people that dream and go about trying to make it happen.
He always thinks when something is successful. He never thinks if. When I first met Mal, I was getting over another love. And I had 2 other dates before I met him, and I went on those 2 dates, and that was the last time I dated anybody. I was all of 17. I thought he wasn't the best-looking guy going. He had big horn-rimmed glasses and a crew cut, and he was tall and very, very skinny. But he was really nice, and he had a lot of personality. We just sort of, I guess, hit it off. I always knew that Mal would be successful. How successful, I didn't know, and what's more, I really didn't care.
This is from, it looks like a child. Dear Mr. Bricklin, thank you for sending me the poster and letter. You are probably one of the only persons now connected with a big company who is nice enough to answer a kid. Since the last letter I wrote, I have gotten 3 magazines just because they have something about the Bricklin. P.S. Your poster of the Bricklin is the only thing my mom ever let me hang directly on the wallpaper in my room.
But up in St. John, Bricklin, Canada is floundering. Production still hasn't begun, yet bills are flowing in for everything from engines to Bricklin's extensive travel expenses.
My strength was making sure the design was what I wanted and the sales, and then hiring people to run the facility. One of the problems we had is we had to take Detroit experts and bring them to New Brunswick. And it's a tough place to live. You know, it's not sunny a lot of the times. There's not a lot of places to go. Therefore, management didn't want to stay there and pay attention on a 24-hour basis like management should in a case like that. And I was out there 7 cars, and I was not in Canada all the time, you know, building a car.
Less than 4 months after signing the deal, the Bricklin is in trouble. But Hatfield knows it's too late to back out. New Brunswick's first $6 million is nearly spent, and the Premia's future is now firmly entwined with the car and its maker. From now on, the two men have the same goal: make the car whatever the cost.
En regardant le budget alloué au projet Bricklin, on voyait bien qu'il manquait de l'argent. Pourtant, Malcolm est un homme qui renvoie l'image de la réussite. Je dois lui donner ce crédit. Il est déterminé, il a de bonnes idées. Par contre, il a du mal à les réaliser.
What he doesn't do well is make them a reality.
In June of 1974, a twin-engine plane carrying Richard Hatfield and a crate of fresh Atlantic salmon heads for New York City. Malcolm Bricklin is already here. For the American promoter and the Canadian premier, this is a critical moment. Tomorrow, the Bricklin will be unveiled in front of the American media and 1,000 invited guests at the Four Seasons Hotel on Park Avenue. But already plans are going awry.
New York, we had to introduce the car to all those dealers and to the press and to the politicians and to everybody who worked with the company. It was going to be our opening, and we rented the Four Seasons. Now, to give you an idea how little money we spent, you can go to the Four Seasons today and have lunch, and it's going to cost you $150 to $200. We rented the Four Seasons for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 1,000 people. We paid $25,000, but there was one problem.
Hey, nothing but the best for New York, c'est mon frère de l'Atlantique. Bonsoir, Monsieur Bricklin.
Chez Hatfield, c'est toujours un plaisir.
Écoute, Dick, changement de plan. On pourra pas aller à ton club machin truc, là. La voiture est...
Le Christ de char fitait pas dans les portes.
Il veut dire que la voiture rentre pas dans le restaurant.
Never before done in the history of the Four Seasons. The cars were there. The Premier was there. When we go to put in the car, they took off the glass, and the car is 1 inch too wide. No matter how we turn the car, we can't get it in to the building. And I'm sitting there saying, at 9 o'clock in the morning, we are going to introduce these things, and those cars are going to be inside, and I don't give a shit how you get them in there.
Malcolm a déniché une gang de New Jersey.
And on the spot, we called in welders, and they brought in steel, and they made a spit. Like they put an animal, and they turn it on the side, and we turned the car on the side and moved it in. And we then put the glass back in, and we had our show.
So what we did is we rotated the car like a rotisserie, put it outside, drained all the fluids out of it, ran it through the thing, pushing it, and making a left-hand turn by the tapestry. And this makes Fear Factor look like a kid's program, because we're, you know, one screw up and we're buying a big piece of artwork.
Le symbole, c'est New York, faut pas oublier. New York, c'est le symbole du rêve américain, économique. L'Amérique qui s'est faite en attirant des gens de partout dans le monde qui ont émigré, puis c'est la réussite économique.
Je déclare officiellement cette voiture une Bricklin SVA.
D'aller lancer la voiture à New York, d'une part, tu atteignais le marché, mais d'autre part, tu correspondais à la vie de bon vivant de Richard Hatfield. Et Malcolm Bricklin intégrait Richard Hatfield dans un réseau qui était celui des artistes. Mais l'idée de lancer la Bricklin à New York, on peut pas l'analyser autrement en dehors du contexte de la personnalité de Richard Hatfield. C'est un bon vivant qui s'est amusé dans son bureau de premier ministre, comme dans les boîtes de nuit ou dans les spectacles avec les artistes acadiens.
On attendait juste une occasion.
Ah, Monsieur Hatfield!
Bonjour!
Hey. Heureux de vous voir dans l'underground de New York. Ah. Vous connaissez sans doute Johnny Melanson, grande célébrité de l'émission New York Talk Talk.
Patty.
Patty! Ah, enchanté, Patty.
Je suis la secrétaire de Herb Graff.
Je pense qu'on est ici pour ça. On va fêter ça en l'honneur de la très belle soirée que vous nous offrez ici à New York, Monsieur Hatfield.
Afterwards, I remember a story. The premier was there, friends were there, some dealers were there. Everybody was celebrating and feeling really good about themselves. And one wife was having lots of conversations with the premier. She was trying to get very friendly with him. And she asked him, well, do I call you Mr. Premier or do I call you Richard? What should I call you? And he said, Your Royal Highness will be just fine. The phenomenal public relations that came from that one introduction sold us 40,000 cars with back orders, and we never spent one penny for advertising. We canceled our advertising campaign, and our sales were over.
The New York opening is a massive success. Dealers come with their families, and Malcolm Bricklin makes a huge impression.
As he approached the podium to speak, you would have thought he was Jesus Christ. When he finished speaking, the crowd promoted him to God. Now that's how charismatic Malcolm Bricklin is. You have very highly successful dealers looking at an extremely nebulous forecast on a very strange car, and they're all grinning like fools when Malcolm Bricklin gets through.
And there again, we were lucky enough to meet a man like Premier Hatfield from New Brunswick.
I thought, you know, this man is for real, and this is exciting, and this is something that this proposal will work, and this is a response to a high demand.
Are you nervous today about your investment in Bricklin?
No, I'm not nervous. I'm very confident, and I have been very confident. If you start to become involved in something, you've got to believe in it.
If I had failed, I would be a con man.
Right.
And if I succeed, then I'm an entrepreneur.
What is the root of it? It's faith, personal faith in what you're doing. And, you know, he has it in abundance. He has it to give away.
We were asked, when we were first given our loan, when we thought we would be in production. We gave our best estimates, which were horrendous. You do have to understand that they've said it can't be done, and we have to admit it has been difficult. And since we have never built a car, it became very difficult to estimate. And because of those wrong estimations, it gave valid grounds for questioning the validity of the total project. Fortunately, we had very, very strong backing of confidence from the province. We should be able to put more quality into that car than any other car that's ever been built. We have an advantage over people like Rolls-Royce, who do not use a tremendous amount of machinery, but use a tremendous amount of hand labor. And we have an advantage over Detroit that uses a tremendous amount of machinery, and the hand labor has to work too fast.
The most important thing is to make a gut determination, and that's the only way you can make it. You know, is this man who says he wants to come to your province and wants to invest and has this proposal, you know, is he a con artist or is he really an entrepreneur? I made the decision that Malcolm Bricklin was an entrepreneur.
I believe we've shown we can build a car and get it off in a fairly short period of time in relation to what a normal car company does. We didn't just build a car, we built a magnificent car that will be acclaimed around the world, that we will all be proud of, and me especially to be proud to have my name on the back of that car. Thank you, and thank you very much. A man who made it possible, Premier Richard Hatfield.
We in New Brunswick, in the opinion of many, are not supposed to be in the business of producing automobiles. We are supposed to be hewers of wood and drawers of water. Bricklin has been and is an advertisement for New Brunswick. As such, it speaks well for our province. And because its success will be our success, we ought to speak well of the Bricklin. Malcolm, come on, let's go for a drive.
Puis c'était des rangées après rangées, monde après monde, pour venir voir la Bricklin, la toucher. Surtout, c'était de voir les gens la toucher.
You know, I just picked in the airport today copies of Penthouse and Gentleman's Quarterly, both of which have articles on the Bricklin. There aren't many products made in many provinces that get that kind of international recognition.
You got to understand, this is like the sexiest car going in like 1974, 1975. Hugh Hefner had one, Johnny Carson had one. Like it was like, this was like the thing to have, even though like there were bugs, no question.